Welcome back. In this session, what we're going to do is we're going to design the patterns for the outside of our pinch pot. In our previous lesson, you should have gotten your name, your first name, last name, initials on the bottom, your teacher's name, and the table circled that you sit at. And it should also match on your little piece of cardboard. Now, we just got done watching a PowerPoint about various different pottery styles and cultures that do different pottery styles, and we kind of learned that most pottery has pattern to it. Okay, and a pattern is any repeated design. So if we look at my example here, you can see I've created a repeated design by using a circle and painting it blue. You can see I made a pattern with this curved shape here at the bottom and repeated it and made it green. Anything that you repeat is going to be a pattern. So in this session we're going to make at least 3 patterns on our pinch pot, and we are going to add one thing and add the clay on and have that be part of our pattern as well. So I'm going to start with just a simple tool. The best tool in the world, a popsicle stick. I've used a scissors to trim the edge to make a pointed edge and kept one edge round. And I'm going to use this to draw a line around the rim to kind of separate 2 parts of my pot. And notice how I'm turning it as I go. And I can see it over here. I'm going to eyeball it the best I can to get those 2 to line up. There we go. Now I want to draw a design on, and if I use lines, I can make a pattern out of my lines. I'm going to take a line here and do a triangle design, which will then turn into a zigzag line, right? So here's my zigzag line. Going to take it, and as I turn my pot, I'm going to do it all the way around. Now if you're working at your table, you could probably just lean over and do this so that it works out. I have to turn my hand up like I am, and I have to hold mine sideways so you guys can see it, but you guys can probably work it out. Now when you get to the point here, you're going to have to guess so that your pattern kind of works itself out. So there we go. I've got a zigzag line all the way around. Now I've got one pattern basically with lines. Now I'm going to take something else and stick it into the clay to make the shapes that I want. Okay, so I want to get a circle. So in your clay toolbox here, okay, here's your clay toolbox. Your clay toolbox should have a bunch of stuff in it. Here's a marker cap, here's a spoon, you could use your popsicle stick, you've got old paint brushes, you've got a bunch of random tools that you can use to stick into your pinch pot and make a design. So I'm going to start with this ruler combo here. This is what I use to roll out things, and I'm going to take this ruler and I'm going to stick it right in the middle for that little like double lined shape. I'm going to stick it in on each of my triangle places here to make my design. And you can see how I just gently push it into the surface and have my hand on the inside so it doesn't go all the way through. Okay. So there's one pressed in design. So I have 2 designs already. I've got my zigzag line and that pressed in design. I'm going to take my little old paintbrush here and I'm going to use this to press little dots in around the surface of the rim this way, like that. Now after this I'm going to have 3 patterns already. A line pattern, my zigzag, okay. I'm going to have and then 2 pressed in patterns, this ruler shape and the end of this paintbrush here. Okay, so there's my 3 patterns. If you want to have more than 3, great. If you want to just keep it at 3, that's fine too. Once you get your 3 patterns that you've either drawn into the surface of your clay or pressed into the surface of your clay, you're going to add little pieces of clay on. Now the easiest thing to do is to just make little balls and add them on. So I'm just going to take a little teeny bit of clay here in my hand. I'm going to kind of roll it in my fingers to make a little ball. Okay, like that. Then at your table you should have a little cup of water. Okay, and that little cup of water you can just get your finger wet, rub a little spot on your pinch pot where you want it to get stuck. Take your little ball of clay, dunk it in the water, and then just gently twist it back and forth and kind of pinch it on like that. Okay, and if I tilt it there, you can see how it's sticking out, and I want it to be a little smaller actually, so I'm just gonna crease my finger around it. And if you want to, you can use a popsicle stick because they're super useful for working with clay. Good for kind of sculpting clay. And I'm actually going to pull on it a little bit to kind of get it to stick out a little bit so it's kind of pointy. So if I set it down like that, you can see that point really easily. So I'm just going to kind of go through and add those on. And at this point, Mr. Lundgren, you can fast forward so they don't have to watch me do every single one. And at the end, when I'm done with that, we'll discuss and review the things that we should have on our piece. So here we go. We've got our 3 patterns, our zigzag line, our squished in rulers, our dotted old paintbrush back, and then we've got these little points that I've added all the way around. If I kind of turn it here, you can kind of see all those little points all the way around, and I can work on them a little bit more and get them nice and pointy. Notice the inside of our pinch pot is nice and smooth. We want the inside of the pinch pot to be nice and smooth so that whatever we put in there doesn't get stuck in any of the lines. So the 3 things you're going to do is 3 patterns plus 1 little piece of clay that creates a pattern all the way around, and you want that pattern to look nice. Make sure not to ruin your name on the bottom, and at the end check in with me and set it back on your cardboard like that. And next week we'll get to the point where we paint it.